This is Fighting for What's Right. I'm Pam Jones, here with personal injury attorney Barry Doyle. Barry, on the topic of depositions, besides the other witnesses and parties, do other people have to be deposed?
There are two other types of depositions that tend to get taken in personal injury and wrongful death cases. One would be the depositions of the treating doctors, and the other would be expert witnesses.
What's the difference between a treating doctor and an expert witness?
Well, a treating doctor is somebody who literally is the person who takes care of you after you've been involved in an accident. If you break a bone, it's going to be your orthopedic surgeon. If you end up with something like stomach problems, it might be a gastroenterologist. But these are people who kind of came into your life by virtue of the fact that they are people who are just taking care of you because that's kind of their calling in life. Now, expert witnesses are a little bit of a different animal in that they are people who are hired to come into the litigation by one side or the other. Plaintiffs can hire expert witnesses, defendants can hire expert witnesses. Sometimes they are addressing issues of liability. Sometimes they're addressing issues of causation in the medical aspect of the damages. You know, your treating doctors are going to really just address the medical issues. Expert witnesses can be, people like engineers, for example, or architects, or safety experts, or any number of other things, in addition to being doctors who have some type of specialized training.
And what are you trying to accomplish with the treating doctor deposition?
The treating doctor is really a crucial witness in the life of a personal injury case. One of the things that you're required to do is establish a causal link between the accident that you're claiming the defendant was at fault for and whatever injuries it is that you're claiming that you suffered. And the person who establishes that causal link is going to be your treating doctor. So that's one of the basic building blocks that you need to have to win any kind of a case. Past that, he's also going to be a person who's going to help you establish the elements of your damages. Part of what you are allowed to claim are medical expenses that are related to the accident. So, your treating doctor would be somebody who would help establish that if you needed physical therapy, that the therapy was necessary to recover from the injuries that you suffered in the accident. A lot of times they're also really helpful in establishing pain and suffering, which is another element of your damages, as well as future damages. In other words, like if you're not able to go back to work, what are the physical limitations you have that keep you from going back to the kind of job that you used to have? Future medical expenses, future pain and suffering, all of those things, the treating doctor is going to help you establish those elements of damages.
Okay, and so then when you go to interview the expert witness, how do you change your approach? How is your approach different?
The thing that you have to keep in mind about an expert witness and how you approach him differently is that they are coming into the case as being somebody who is brought in by the defense for a very specific reason. And the defense wouldn't bring them into the case unless they were going to be actively helpful to the defense in trying to beat your client's claim. So this is somebody who is going to be actively hostile, and you need to be able to undermine their credibility, undermine their theory of the case. Typically, the expert witnesses are going to be people who are going to be fabulously well paid. There are some doctors that I've had the pleasure of taking depositions of where they've made $200,000 or $300,000 a year in what they call their part-time side medical legal consulting gig, which is something that always catches jury's attention when you start talking about that kind of money. Expert witnesses who testify frequently tend to have a track record for testifying consistently over and over and over again. And a lot of times you're able to get a hold of transcripts of depositions they've given in the past and use those as leverage points to show that this is really the same song that they sing over and over and over again, and that they are fabulously well compensated for doing that. The other thing that I've found over the years is they have an overarching theory in terms of how things should be, but they don't necessarily have a really good handle on the particular facts of your accident. And a lot of times when you really sit down to quiz these doctors about what they actually know about the facts of the accident, about the particulars of your client's medical care, they really don't have a solid grasp as to what exactly is involved. And a lot of times you can use that as a point to chip away at their credibility. And it's something that has to be thought out very carefully, because good expert witnesses have testified over and over again, and they've seen how lawyers approach things. And when they realize that they are stepping into a trap, a lot of times they're really quick to extricate themselves. And you have to be very careful and concise about how you ask the questions so that by the time you're ready to spring the proverbial trap on them, they've so firmly committed themselves to where they're going to be that they really can't get themselves out of it. If I can do a good job destroying an expert's credibility, if I can destroy the basis of what his opinions are, it goes a long way towards either getting the case settled, or it will set the stage for trying to get some of their opinions knocked out of the testimony that's eventually going to be heard at trial. But it's these depositions, the treating doctor's depositions and the expert witness depositions, these are sort of the last things that happen before a case actually goes to trial.
And which one is more important? Would you say the treating doctor or the expert witness?
If you get really good, strong, favorable testimony from a treating doctor, a lot of times that really sets the stage for getting a case settled, even if settlement discussions to that point had really stalled and not gone much of anywhere. Because, as I said earlier, expert witnesses are expensive, and before insurance companies are going to look at investing $5,000 or $10,000 or $20,000 in hiring an expert to knock your case down, if you get a really strong bit of testimony out of a treating doctor who is just there, testifying not because they want to be, but because they had a patient who needed care, then those tend to be really powerful pieces of leverage to get cases settled. So I tend to be very focused in on getting favorable testimony out of my clients' treating doctors, because a good bit of testimony from your client's treating doctor can be a really powerful asset in the case.
Thanks, Barry. This is Fighting for What's Right with personal injury attorney Barry Doyle. For more information, visit our website at www.fightingforwhat'sright.com.